Welcome, brothers and sisters, to the Meher Baba program. I'm your host, Fred Stankus, along with my co-host, Suhas Ginde. Welcome, Suhas.
Thank you.
We are now in part two, or actually, of our program from last week. It's actually billed as part 8 of our series on reflections or gems from Avatar Meher Baba's life, the biography of the age, Avatar Meher Baba, and biography of Avatar Meher Baba, Avatar the Age. We're now dealing in volume 4. There's 20 volumes in this epic work by Baal Kalchuri, published by Hermes Rider. And we are now in the early 30s, and Baba is traveling on a train from Lahore to Amritsar. And Amritsar, of course, is the place of the golden temple of the Sikh Guru Nanak's faith. And while he's on the train, there's a man who apparently approaches him, and it's almost like as though if we had a chance to commiserate with a perfect master, just at random. Yeah. And this is like a situation where Baba is traveling. Here is a God-realized being, the avatar of the age, and a person on public transportation approaches him. He's attracted to him. And this is the situation and dialogue that takes place to us. Can you set us up on that?
Okay, so it starts with, on the train traveling from Lahore to Amritsar. Lahore is now in Pakistan. So Amritsar is in the Punjab.
Oh, at that time it was Indian, yeah.
Yeah. A Muslim man in the compartment was instantly drawn to Baba. He kept gazing steadily at Baba. After some time, Baba looked straight at him and dictated through one of the Mandali disciples, "My friend, there is nothing but bliss everywhere." "Maybe for you, sir, but not for me," the man replied. Baba went on, "You complain because you cannot see it, but I tell you there is nothing but bliss all around. I see it, I experience it every moment." The man then said, "I've experienced nothing but misery, conflict, and suffering in the world. I've never known happiness, and I'm quite disgusted with my life." "This is because of ignorance," replied Baba. "You had no experience of real bliss. You run after the shadow, losing the substance. You mistook happiness for eating, raking in money, and in pleasures and enjoyments, which are fleeting, false, and transitory. Not only that, they take you further away from the real bliss, which is everlasting." "But where can I find that bliss?" asked the man. "That is exactly the point," exclaimed Baba. "Now you are asking and desiring something real. Let your desire be only to find this bliss, to find truth, and to find God. Continuously have this longing, and you will achieve it. You will find the path to achieve it, and someone will surely show it to you." "Would you show it to me? Would you help me?" pleaded the man. "Certainly, that is my work, that is my mission. I will show you what real bliss is only if you do as I say, and I will not tell you to do something too difficult for you. It's so easy if you only take it to heart. I will then see to the rest. Every morning, very early, spare only 5 minutes for this. Seek a place aloof and alone, and try to meditate, thinking God is one. He is everywhere, and there is nothing but Him. Do this for only 5 minutes daily, and will see that you experience something. You will see some light and then you will be satisfied and proceed on the path. The man was visibly relieved of his misery and felt joy from meeting the master and accepting his advice. Baba's simple explanation made him experience that life was again worth living. The feeling of fresh enthusiasm had not been conveyed through words. It had been imparted internally.
What was that practice he told him on again?
We asked him to
sit alone early in the morning?
Yes, very early in the morning.
And by himself?
Yes.
5 minutes?
5 minutes for that, and then say and try to meditate and think God is one.
God is one.
He's everywhere,
Everywhere.
and there is nothing else but God, or nothing else
But
but
to keep
Him.
thinking that?
Thinking.
In other words, you say it like a mantra? I mean,
Well, he could say it internally.
maybe that saying will take him to places in his imagination.
It might expand his consciousness.
He'll think about the universe and people and how everybody maybe is connected.
There's nothing
Because
else.
when you were reading what Baba was telling them about pursuing, the riches of the world and so forth. And
Yes, earlier on.
yeah, I mean, he was pursuing those things, and most people in the world think that that's what gives you prosperity, happiness. I mean, that's what you're basically told. And in fact, it said you have to earn your keep in order to live here. You have to earn your keep.
It gives you happiness, but it's not lasting happiness. It may give you happiness for that moment, and then you're back to yourself again.
What is the ideal
Being unhappy.
situation then for people? Is it socialism? Is it democracy? Is it free trade? Is it communal living? I mean, I'm just speaking in terms of a worldly pursuit if one was to seek a spiritual type of path in his life. Okay? In other words, what would be the proper vocation to assume to where you wouldn't be involved in the competition for money and power, or is that in the mind? In other words, when your mind changes, you change your environment.
What happens is most people go and find work and things, and they don't really like their job,
Yeah.
they don't like their surroundings. They find
90%.
themselves, what am I doing here? And all of a sudden, if they did take some time out to sit back and meditate for a while, and they come in tune with their inner being, they may be then able to find something within that will teach them or find a way to sustain themselves. It won't be just for money. It won't be for buying a lot of food and clothes and luxurious items and so on. You may really find something that you really like to do, and you're capable of doing it.
I see, in other words, through sitting
Through an inner,
sitting and contemplating and meditating on what should I do.
either that or just meditating where you try to keep yourself away from this.
Or I was actually doing this meditation. What is that meditation again?
It says God is one.
That is one.
He's everywhere, and there is nothing but Him.
So maybe if you did that meditation, you would get
Then it-
other inspiration.
Then it
Or inspiration would take you.
that it detaches you from the race you're caught up in, the rat race, they call it. And it might give you some time to reflect on who you are in reality, and also it might give you some insights of something. You're capable of doing a lot of things, but you've never thought about doing those because you're so caught up in your
Well, the bills come
daily
every
existence.
month,
Yes, but I mean, he's not saying to leave your job. He's just saying that you might get an insight to do something different. And then when you get that kind of direction from within, instead of somebody telling you, you got to go out there and make a living, you find something that you enjoy doing. And then your life becomes harmonious.
That's right.
And you will succeed because you're still doing what you're doing at your job anyway, except you're going there reluctantly, so to speak. You're only going there because there's a check waiting for you on a Friday every week or every 2 weeks or once a month. But you can still make that money because you will find other skills. Maybe you might have to go and take some classes and learn a different type of trade, but that's something will give you, you still have the capability of doing what your inner being tells you to do. And you'll be happier because now you're doing something that's harmonious with who you are.
In you presenting this, in these words of Baba to this gentleman on this train, it's almost like freshness for us.
Air.
Fresh air for us to hear it, because so many people in the current, world affairs and status don't give you this encouragement or these words to basically choose something, even though it may not achieve. See, success is equated with money in our society most of the time. Unless you're an artist or creative, they just create for the sake of creating. An artist is driven by that. But this is amazing words to hear, because you have so many people working for, minimum wage, and they probably get depressed. It's like this gentleman was talking about. They don't see any improvement in their status. And
a lot of this comes from fear, too, because when you don't have this contact with your inner being, which is the God within you, the Atma, as we call it in Hinduism, the soul, and you tune yourself more to your inner being rather than to the external, because a lot of people go into their daily activities because they have nothing else they know what to do. They don't know anything else to do. But like, if you get involved with what you'd like to do.
I see. It's almost like instead of listening with the outer ear to the TV and radio and newspapers, you shut that off and maybe try to listen to the inner.
And this is something you do just maybe, like Baba told him, do it for 5 minutes early in the morning.
5 minutes,
he didn't
anybody
say
can do that.
leave your job, but there will be a change coming over you as time goes on.
And this guy's blessed to get these words directly from the avatar, not just from...
And it says here, the man was visibly relieved of his misery and felt joy from meeting the master. And at that time, Baba was known as the master by his disciples.
And the man was drawn to Baba, irrespective of religion or whatever. He's a Muslim man talking to Baba, who was of Zoroastrian background.
Yes.
Of course, his Baba's message is all religions is one. That's his universal mastery and servitude.
They have the same theme expressed in different ways. But then it goes on here and says, the Mandali, or the disciples, found out that the person had tried many different spiritual austerities and was searching for a master. But after years, he had grown dejected and depressed. At that time, he was contemplating suicide.
This man.
Yes. Baba not only saved his life, but inspired him to continue on in his quest. The individual later turned out to be none other than the celebrated Indian poet, Muhammad Iqbal.
This man?
Yes. And there's a footnote here.
Again, Muhammad
Iqbal, and it says here.
That is really kept us in the dark here until now.
It says Muhammad Iqbal was a poet who wrote ghazals. These are these
poetic songs
dedicated to the divine.
Yeah, you could sing them for hours. Ghazals are sung through the night. Couplets.
And you can continue.
They're enchanting.
They
ghazals.
give you a little bit of exhilaration. He was educated at Oxford in England. He later wrote a national song which became very popular at the time of India's movement for independence from British rule. So he was a celebrated poet. He was not just an ordinary person, but he must have seen something
Amazing man.
in Baba. So this story is very poignant and changed us just by giving him that instruction about
Muhammad Iqbal.
Iqbal.
How's it spelled, the last name?
Iqbal.
Iqbal. I wonder if his works are in print.
Probably are. He wrote supposedly a national
Iqbal. And
he wrote
so that'd be interesting to look up.
Famous poet. And you see how Baba helped him
20th century poet.
Get out of misery. Yes.
Yeah.
So you see?
Beautiful.
That was the footnote.
And then on the next page you go to Baba gives a message.
Well, this is about angels.
Oh, that's a good transition.
That same day, I wanted to go a little bit back here because there was something interesting about what he told Chanji, who was his secretary.
One of his close disciples.
Yes, and his secretary.
His secretary, yeah.
Whom he had saved, whose Chanji at one time was contemplating suicide because he used to run a movie theater in Bombay and he found his business was going downhill and his wife was going to leave him for somebody else, and he was at a beach, Chopati Beach in Bombay, contemplating ending his life. And then just at that moment, Baba appeared for a walk on the beach with some of his resident Mandali, his disciples that he had taken. Baba at that time was living in Manzil-e-Meem in Bombay.
It's early 20s.
Yes, and he had taken these people, and then he came across Chandji, and he told him a few things, and Chandji's whole life changed around, became Baba's disciple, and became his secretary, who took notes and so on.
My gosh.
So that was another moment. Well, Baba had sent Chandji to Madras to arrange a suitable place of seclusion. Chandji returned to Meherabad 4 days later, and Baba immediately sent him off to Pune for certain work, after which he had to return the next day. Now this is quite going across Bombay to Madras, from Pune, from Meherabad to Madras and coming back.
It's a good distance.
It's a long trip.
About 1,000 plus miles, isn't it? At least.
Exactly. And weary from his travels, Chandji reported that the work in Pune had not been completed satisfactorily, and Baba took him to task. I mean, Baba was a little upset. Chandji pleaded, "What could I do? I'm incapable of some things. I've shortcomings, weaknesses, and faults." Chandji was human. "I'm unable to satisfy you. You are put to trouble because of me, and it is better that I leave you." And to console Chandji, Baba explained, "Forget these thoughts. Continue staying with me and do as I order, paying full attention to the work. Nothing more is required. The worst of sins are washed away by self-dedication to a perfect master. You may go on thinking bad thoughts for the whole day, but be with me and carry out my instructions. A Sadguru's furnace burns up everything. You have deep connections with me. So let the worst thoughts come and remain with me and listen to me. It is no use going away. All your thoughts will turn to ash in my furnace of love."
You know, that's why they always say, surrender at the feet of your master, your perfect master, because you basically put upon him all your impressions and sanskaras from the past.
Exactly.
And he takes them from you and burns them and gives you the liberation and frees you from that. And that's why people don't understand the surrender process. What is surrender what? But you're surrendering your garbage. And that's it, isn't it?
And Baba gives the analogy that these Sadgurus or perfect masters are like furnaces.
Yeah.
They take your sanskaras, or these impressions
Right.
that you've accumulated over several lifetimes.
In your head, in your
They're
mind.
just like a haystack.
Right.
Burn them
Incinerate them.
through their divine love.
Divine love. And then you suddenly feel this unbelievable
You
well-being.
feel a cleansing or a relief from all this anxiety and so on. But this doesn't happen to everyone. Again, we
Of
get
course.
back to that.
To be able to surrender to a master,
It's very, very, first of all, it's very, very difficult.
it's very difficult, and people don't understand the connotation against surrender.
master.
Surrender means surrendering your mind for him to cleanse.
Body and your wealth and
exactly.
everything.
It's not
What
surrendering
he
to
says.
surrendering to be used or whatever. It's you're surrendering for the benefit of yourself.
Even the ego mind is surrendered to the master. But then later that same day, July 7th, the master gave this discourse to the Mandali on angels. Baba goes on by saying, there is an ocean of infinitude in God. In this ocean there are waves which produce the creation of drops. The drops in the waves which were created in the beginning with the wind in the infinite ocean do not pass through the 7 stages of evolution as others do, but immediately assume the form of angels instead. They do not go through the evolutionary process.
Let's go back and do this slowly. The ocean originally is created. This is, of course, we're using...
Created, it exists.
Exists.
That's the explanation of what God is.
All right.
Is an infinite
okay, this infinite ocean, though, has these little,
when
bubbles.
When the wind occurs,
Right.
which is a stirring of the ocean, it can happen at any moment, it says, in God speaks. Waves are created, ripples on a lake, and out of this emerge drops. The drops have the same, which we call Atmas. The ocean is represented by Paramatma, or God, in the beyond state, which is God the Father, Allah, and so on. Same. Some of these drops do not pass through the process of evolution to become.
Those that don't become Adam and Eve.
Well,
they stay in that level to where they do not come down. They become angels, huh?
They do not take a
physical form,
but their spirit, in the spirit world,
right.
Subtle world, they are called angels.
And they do work.
They do work for the Godhead. It says some of these drops, which were created in the beginning with a whim in the infinite ocean, do not pass through the 7 stages of evolution as other drops do, but immediately assume the form of angels instead. They are more in the subtle world, right. And some are in the mental world. They do not go through the evolution process of going from stone, metal, plant.
Right. So they know nothing but good.
Exactly. These angels are in the same state for cycles and cycles, for eons and eons. They have subtle forms and are in the second heaven in the 3rd subtle plane. That's where they...
That's the station.
They unconsciously thirst for a human form, even though they are in the highest state of happiness. The 3rd state is, in the subtle world, a lot of energy. But this bliss is of no use to them without full consciousness.
Oh, so they're experiencing all bliss.
Or they're experiencing happiness.
Happiness, but they don't have full consciousness like
they don't have the ultimate bliss that God has.
Yes.
There's a limited bliss.
So they have that urge to want to be human.
They have to take a human form and then take the cycle of involution to get to the 7th plane of divine consciousness. It rarely happens, but after millions and millions of years, one angel is born as a human being in order to realize its real self. Why? In order to gain consciousness, which up to now is lacked, though it has passed numerous years in the subtle world as an angel. After an angel is born as a human being, it does not have to pass through human reincarnation, but becomes realized in that very first human birth.
One birth.
But that's the grace of God.
Do you think those angels, though, are special?
Yes.
Like souls? I mean, they would be, wouldn't they? Because if they're that close.
And it says these angels...
You're an angel, like people say sometimes to somebody.
Yes, but...
I know, they use it.
In a different context. These angels are not born on the gross plane together, but one at a time.
Oh.
Therefore, from a spiritual point of view, man is far superior to angels, because the angels, in spite of enjoying millions of years of bliss in heaven, which is in the subtle world, have to take human form before attaining liberation. So the angels are trapped on the 3rd plane. Yeah. Remember that, and the musts are also through these planes.
So, excuse me. So actually, in a way, we humans, in the form, in gross form, actually is what the angels desire.
Exactly.
They desire this.
But they do it in just one life.
They don't need to go through the 8,400,000 births and deaths. As MeherBaba states, a normal soul goes through 50,400,000 experiences from gaseous state to get God realization, while an angel only goes through one.
And this is the exception, I believe, for the 3rd plane, subtle plane soul to come back to a human form and then get realization within that lifetime. Because remember, if you're on the 3rd subtle plane, you go on to the 4th, the 5th, and so on.
So if you meet somebody that says, I was an angel last life and now this is my last life.
Well, they're not going to know that. They only know this life.
Well, actually, it's probably their protective veil. A veil keeps them from that, because otherwise they'd be too, maybe...
They would be a human on a higher level of consciousness, no doubt, and they wouldn't be around where we are.
Yeah, they'd probably be in a much more refined place somewhere.
They would be somewhere in meditation and so on to get out of this. They're not caught up in...
They're not in the corporate world, I don't think.
No, I don't think so.
That's good. Then it describes archangels as being. The angels are in the subtle. Archangels are in the mental world.
Mental world.
Yeah.
Angels exist in the subtle world, the second heaven of the third plane. Archangels exist in the mental world, the heaven of the sixth plane.
Yeah.
And even they have to take a human form.
Wow. An archangel is like a level of what a saint is, though. I mean, a saint is in the middle.
Without the human form.
Yeah.
They're formless, but they're on the sixth plane of consciousness.
So they do work with the masters, I guess, in keeping creation. In other words, is there
They
something?
become agents of the master.
Is there something to a guardian angel? Do we have guardian angels?
Well, that's where that term comes. Somebody's watching over me. It could be you have connected with a good soul, a good angel that may be looking after you.
I mean, do you feel, in your personal opinion, that there is an angel with you now?
I've always felt all my life that there was something more to it than just going through the life. And I always felt that there was somebody watching over me. I have that inner feeling. That means even if I do something...
So do you think there's like an angel with a list saying, I'm in charge, or I should be watching over Suhas Ginde. He's located in LA, California. I mean, how can they find it?
Yes. No, I mean, not in a physical sense. It's in a subtle world which we don't see with our eyes. So it could be even Baba looking after me. It could be anything. We identify Baba with a form.
But that's amazing what you said, though. Angels have to take a physical birth before they can get God consciousness.
A human birth. They don't go through any
that's right. They don't go through any evolution state.
Forms.
They don't have to go through an animal state.
Of an animal or a bird.
They go right to human being. Yeah.
But he says it's after millions and millions of years.
A service as an angel.
Of just being, but they already are in a state of heaven and a subtle world in the third plane. That's up there.
Yeah, so they're in constant bliss and happiness.
Yes, but that bliss is limited to a certain.
Well, that's amazing. You know, we got to continue on. Maybe with the next program, we may do something from the nothing and everything, as we're getting the rap sign now. And so, until next time, folks, thank you very much for watching the Meher Baba program. Until next time, as Meher Baba says, do your best in life. Remember, don't worry, be happy.
Thank you.